Beignets are an absolute staple when in New Orleans, but there are a lot of different places to try out. During our 6-week stay in New Orleans, we tried over 10 different places, and in this video, I'm going to tell you some of my favorite places and what to expect. So first, there is Café du Monde, which is the #1 place people usually go to, especially tourists flocking to New Orleans. And Café du Monde dates all the way back to 1862. It's been around pretty much for forever, and you're going to find several different locations for Café du Monde. The most famous location is right in the French Quarter. It's actually located in the old French Market building, which dates back to originally the 1700s, although I think it was rebuilt in 1813, but still a really historic building. And it's at that location where you're going to find that iconic green and white striped awning, where you can enjoy your beignets outdoors, or there's also an indoor portion as well. The thing is, the line to this place can get really crazy, especially if you arrive kind of in the late morning rush hour during a weekend. So you might want to consider going to one of the other locations. My favorite secondary location for Café du Monde is in the New Orleans City Park. There's actually a nice little spot there, pretty close to the art museum, and it's just a great place to go grab beignets, and then you can kind of enjoy some of the fresh air and green scenery out in the park. Just like a really nice vibe out there. As far as the actual beignets themselves, I do think Café du Monde probably has the best ones. For me, there's just something about the crispiness that they come with, and they put a huge helping of powdered sugar on these. You really have your sort of like Scarface moment whenever you dig into these beignets. So they just really stand out from all of the other places. And if I had to choose my favorite, I would say Café du Monde, even though it is the classic touristy spot everybody flocks to. Another place to try out is called Morning Call, and Morning Call is another historic beignet place. It dates all the way back to 1870. It was originally located in the French Quarter, but then they kind of moved around, and so now it's closer to Metaire, so you do have to sort of get out of the heart of New Orleans to visit this place. But it's pretty close to the Katrina Memorial and also the end of the streetcar line, so it's still relatively easy to get to, and there's still other things to see. One thing that I really like about the beignets at Morning Call is that you have the opportunity to sprinkle on your own powdered sugar. So if you like a whole lot of it, you can just dump an entire pile on top, or you can just sprinkle a little bit if it's too much for you. Morning Call also has some of the best cafe au lait that we tried. So cafe au lait is essentially coffee with milk and chicory, and it's sort of the classic coffee beverage that people drink with beignets. And we tried, or I should say my husband tried, cafe au lait at all of these different places, and to him this was the best place, so that's something to consider. I also really enjoyed their hot chocolate here. So if you're looking for a storied place that serves beignets and that's not Café du Monde, I think Morning Call is a perfect choice, especially if you're going to be spending time close to Metaire. Back in the French Quarter, there is Café Beignet, and I think it's worth a stop here. So Café Beignet has several locations around the French Quarter and Canal Street, and I believe this is one of the more modern places. I don't think they go all the way back like Morning Call or Café du Monde, but they do have some really delicious beignets. So every time we went there, the beignets tended to be on the larger and denser side. So finishing 3 of these for a single person can actually be quite a challenge, I would say. So you'll definitely be pretty full afterwards. So I would suggest going there with a pretty good appetite if you're expecting to eat all 3, or maybe just share your beignets with someone else. Some of the Café Beignet locations do offer different types of options. So one option is to get the chocolate drizzled on top. We actually were not able to try that, but it did look really good whenever we saw it up close. And they also serve other hot food items, so you can pick up savory options as well. Another place to go is Loretta's Authentic Pralines. So Loretta's has a location in the French Market. It's kind of a smaller, almost like a satellite location. And I believe that their main location is just outside of the French Quarter, but they don't offer everything at that smaller location in the French Market, but they still do offer their classic beignets. So they have the traditional beignets, but they also have their praline-filled beignets, which are extremely tasty. If you like pralines, and honestly, even if you don't really love them or even know if you love them, I would say you have to give these a try. I thought these were among the very best that we tried. There's just something about that praline sauce that goes so well with beignets. Also, the beignets had kind of a different consistency from some of the other places, almost closer to a flaky croissant, but I was just extremely surprised by them, and to me, like I said, I would rank them up among with the best. The Vintage is another place that I would recommend trying out. So this is a nice trendy wine and champagne bar plus eatery that's located on Magazine Street in the Garden District. And they have traditional beignets. I think they even have mini beignets, but they're really known for their fancy beignet flight, which is a flight of 3 large beignets that come with different seasonal fillings. So around the holidays, they may have a special holiday themed filling, but when we were there, they had raspberry, s'mores, and matcha flavors, and these were very indulgent, rich fillings that were really tasty. They definitely had a weightier profile, closer to a donut. At some point, you're basically just eating a donut, but still, I really liked them. I love that they were something a little bit different, and I recommend giving them a try. Again, it's just also a cool kind of venue to check out. So if you love champagne and you would like to maybe have some bubbly with your beignets, that is definitely the place that you want to go. Antiones Bakery is another must try place for beignet lovers. So don't get this place confused with Antoine's in the French Quarter that serves up oysters and oysters Rockefeller and all the other seafood. This is a completely different establishment. So there's one in Metairie. There's also one in Gretna, which is just across the Mississippi River, just outside of New Orleans. And over at Antoine's, they have a lot of different baked goods. They're known for their iconic king and also queen cakes. And we actually tried one of their king cakes, their Easter version of their king cake, which was really good. But the main reason you want to come here is to try their glazed beignets. The glazed beignets come absolutely drenched with glaze. So if you're someone that just likes a little bit of glaze, these might be a little too much for you, or you may have to limit yourself to only one. But I absolutely love them. They also had a nice crunch to them. So to me, they were this perfect crossover between a beignet and a glazed donut, and I would absolutely recommend you trying them out. They also have other good pastries as well. So it's just an overall nice bakery that I think you definitely want to check out if you can get out of the French Quarter area. One of the hidden gems for beignets is Uptown Coffee. So at Uptown Coffee, it's kind of just your average coffee spot. Nothing really necessarily stood out too much about it. They didn't really pop out in any of the recommendations that I saw with people recommending places to go for beignets. But whenever we tried their beignets, they were very, very satisfying, and I thought they were some of the best. So they came out really hot. Some of them were hollow, some of them were more dense. So you kind of never knew what you were going to get, but I like that they came out in a plate that was just coated with powdered sugar, which is perfect for, dipping your beignet as you're trying to work through it. And we visited on St. Patrick's Day, so they had a little bit of St. Patrick's Day flair on them, which was nice. The additional sprinkles actually add a nice little crunch to the beignet, which I thought was really nice. But I definitely think this place is underrated as it doesn't get talked about a lot, but it's worth giving it a shot. Another location to try out is the Roosevelt Hotel, which is a Waldorf Astoria hotel located in the central business district of New Orleans. So at the Waldorf, they have different restaurants, but you can try their beignets at the Fountain Lounge or at Teddy's Cafe, or if you're just ordering room service, you can also get them. These beignets are a little bit on the smaller side. They're kind of like the flakier type as well. The beignets themselves were just sort of kind of average to me, nothing necessarily too spectacular about them, but they do come with some amazing chocolate sauce, which I think is some kind of Nutella-based, maybe raspberry concoction, but the pairing of that chocolate sauce with the beignets is just on another level. So if you're a chocolate sauce lover, then the Roosevelt Hotel is where you want to head for your beignets. Also, while you're there, be sure to check out the Sazerac bar. It's an old historic bar, and they serve up the Sazerac drink, which some people say is the oldest cocktail. So just a little side trip for you on your beignet journey. Another place to head to is Shipley Donuts. So Shipley Donuts is a renowned Texas-based donut chain. If you're from Texas, you absolutely know it for its donuts and kolaches, or klobasniks if you want to be a little bit more technically correct. But they're all amazing. But in Metairie, they actually have a Shipley Donuts with a bit of a Cajun flair to it. So they serve up boudin kolaches, and they also serve up beignets. And as far as I know, it's the only Shipley's that serves beignets. And they actually serve them up in pairs instead of trios, which is a little bit different from most of the other places. But I found them to be really good. They were hollowed out beignets, but they were served super fresh. They make them right on the spot, and I just thoroughly enjoyed them. I think the Shipley's there is also just an overall great Shipley's. So if you're from Texas, you like Shipley's, you like beignets, that's the spot you want to hit up. The final place you may want to hit up is Luca Eats. So they're a spot that's known for things like their sandwiches, but they also serve up these Oreo beignets. Now here's the thing, in truth, these are just basically fried Oreos. So if you've ever been to like a state fair or county fair and you've tried those fried Oreos, that's basically what this is, even though they are put on the menu as Oreo beignets. So I'm just including them because other people refer to them as Oreo beignets, but at the end of the day, you're eating a fried Oreo, and don't get me wrong, they're really good. They're just not necessarily anything super unique like you might imagine a beignet with some kind of like cookies and cream filling or something like that. That's really not what you're getting. It's just a fried Oreo. So those are all of the places that we tried. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for you to hit up all of those places if you are on a short visit, but we had 6 weeks, so it gave us enough time to try them out. And it was really interesting seeing all the different variations that these beignets could come in. I definitely developed a great appreciation for this French donut and what it is. One thing that I did like about these for the most part is that they are a great breakfast food. You can also have them for dessert. And unlike donuts, I feel like I can eat a few beignets and not quite feel as disgusted with myself as I would as if I ate, say, 3, back to back to back donuts or something like that. So obviously these aren't the most healthy food options for you, but when it comes to comparing them to donuts, they just don't feel quite as disastrous to the diet, even though they probably are. But if you're headed to New Orleans, I would suggest you definitely try out one of the Café du Monde locations and then try to mix it up and maybe try out 1 or 2 other places while you're there, because it is really interesting to see the different variations that they come in.